God Valley is turning out to be an even bigger incident than we could have ever anticipated. You have the stacked Rocks crew pirates here. You now also have the Roger pirates, many marine ships and soldiers arriving here, including Garp and Bogard. We can't forget Bogard. You also have the Holy Knights, and an even bigger surprise, you have one of the Goroseis on God Valley, in effect, Saint Jay Garcia. God Valley being this all-out war was expected, as told to us in 957, that this island had to be erased and all the information that we knew of Rocks was erased from time and just history in general. But with this many people being here on this island, so many of them that ended up playing important roles later on in this flashback ended up just being on this one island 38 years ago, comparing to the current timeline in this story, is one of the most beautiful things Oda has ever wrote in One Piece to me. But before I get too excited and get ahead of myself, make sure you guys hit that like button and hit the subscribe button, and make sure you hit that notification bell to always be notified whenever I upload more videos like this. The chapter opens up with us seeing the tournament begin, and from last chapter we were told every 3 years the Celestial Dragons hold this tournament where they hunt down the natives and slaves of that land, and this year, 38 years ago in the past, this is the island they chose, God Valley. We're told that the winner of this championship is rewarded with prizes. Now, once again, we see the 6 chests behind the Celestial Dragons, where we learned in them that later in the chapter, they house devil fruits, which, not going to lie to you guys, was one of the most predictable things that many people have theorized, including myself. It makes the most sense since Celestial Dragons have all the money, the resources they can imagine. It would be devil fruits, some of the most prestigious things in the world, that would be auctioned off or given to as a prize. And for the world nobles, I think it makes complete sense. There was also this specific panel that really caught my eye in this chapter. Was this random NPC in the background talking about how this level of cruelty should not be allowed. It's just not right for humans to treat other humans in this matter. And the sad dilemma here that this guy, this human in this world in One Piece, just doesn't understand is Celestial Dragons don't view themselves as humans. They view themselves as gods, right? They are the descendants of the makers of this world. Like, just taking the words out of Saint Jay Garcia Saturn's mouth, they view everybody else as insects that aren't Celestial Dragons. This level of savagery is accepted since they're supposedly the gods of this world that the One Piece world is. To them, this is just fulfilling their boredom, since they literally have everything you can imagine that you could want. To them, this is just nothing but fun to them. And I love it how Oda is continually just driving home to us readers just how inhumane these Celestial Dragons can be to just nobles and just specifically their slaves. And we know that they told these slaves that in 3 weeks, if you guys can survive this 3-week tournament, oh, you'll be free. The biggest lie ever told. Yeah, I think that was the biggest lie ever told. I can't believe somebody actually believed they were going to do that. And Ivankov literally just told them, no, that was just them giving you false hope of surviving. They don't want to hunt down people that's going to lose their motivation to survive and actually run away from them and just give in to that despair. No, they want you to have that false hope to be able to run away from them, knowing that at the end of the day, you are going to die to them no matter what. I also love this little section of Garp and Kong conversation. Kong just calling up Garp while he's on vacation. He's like, yo, Garp, we need you to go pull up to God Valley. And to Garp, he doesn't even care. He doesn't care that the Rock Pirates are pulling up to God Valley, where a lot of the Celestial Dragons are, 200 of them. Oda actually gave us a specific amount. Garp was like, hey man, that's their fault. They're the ones who were messing with Hachinosu. They specifically took something from Hachinosu and took it to God Valley. I feel like a lot of people missed this when I was going through Twitter and looking at it. I feel like a lot of people are missing this. Garp is talking about the Celestial Dragons took something from Hachinosu. They messed with something and took it to God Valley. That's the whole reason why the Rocks Pirates is there. Now, you can say this might be a devil fruit. I don't think it's a devil fruit. It's specifically because later on in this chapter, we even got more dialogue about it that I will talk about as we get to that. But specifically this, Garp knows that they took something from him. Like as Kong said, Kong was like, how did you get this information, Garp? And classic Oda, Garp doesn't answer that question because Oda wants to still keep that hidden for us. We're probably going to learn about this however long we actually get the full God Valley flashback. Oda is clearly showing to us that they have something in God Valley that Rocks wanted, something that the Celestial Dragons took. We have to look at the wording here. Something they took from Hachunosu, Pirate Island, Beehive, something they took that made Rocks go to God Valley and come get. Now that's interesting. People are going to make a lot of theories, and hopefully you guys drop in the comment section below some of your theories on what potentially Rocks want back that the Celestial Dragons took. Kong told him, hey, Roger's gonna be there, and immediately Garp was like, I'm there. Garp was like, oh, like Garp didn't care. Oh, Whitebeard, Kaido, Big Mom, all these guys pulling up. He's like, oh, and Kong was like, oh, Roger will be mobilized too. And Garp was like, wait, Roger? Oh, you should have said that sooner. I'm there. And I just love this rivalry, or more so I would say this obsession Garp has with Roger, right? This was something that was talked about, right, when in those chapters, in that 0.5 chapter, when we saw Garp was going after Roger and them talking about just, this is just the one guy Garp can just never let get away from him. This is just something special with Garp and Roger that Oda is clearly showing to us even back 38 years ago. We also get some new dialogue from the new character we were introduced in the last chapter, Ginny, who honestly 100% sure I believe is Bonnie's mother. We learned she was the one who actually was able to wiretap the comms and manage to broadcast the information about this tournament and its prizes to the world 2 weeks in advance, which is just brilliant writing for Oda. Like, who would have thought that Ginny, of all people, a character we didn't know, was able to orchestrate this entire mess that happened in God Valley that had to be covered up because of what the world nobles were doing. Because of this, Ginny and Ivankov was able to make a plan for these people, whoever showed up to the island. Of course, she didn't know it was going to be the Rocks Pirates. It was going to be Roger showing up. You got also the Holy Knights. You got Garp. Of course, they didn't know all that, but since they all pulled up, they were able to be easy decoys for them to make up a plan to eventually go to the center of the island and go steal the death fruits, specifically Kaido's fruit and the pawpaw fruit, which again we theorized thought was going to be in those devil fruit chests, and it was exactly that. And we finally get to see this pirate crew and its interaction, something that we have been dying to know since chapter 957. We finally see the Rocks Pirates. We don't see Rocks yet. Yes, I know it's pretty disappointing. I thought this was finally going to be the chapter that it was going to be revealed, especially the way the spoilers are talking about how hype this chapter was, and it is hype. I genuinely thought at minimum we were going to finally see Rocks revealed. It's something Oda still wants to hide. We don't know for whatever reason, but he still wants to hide it. But he's clearly showing Rocks talking about like, hey crew, get behind me, we're going. And like, we're seeing the conquerors, right? We're seeing Whitebeard, we're seeing Shiki, we're seeing Kaido, we're seeing Big Mom, and we're seeing exactly what Son Goku said in 957, that this crew just couldn't get along, and eventually it just led to their demise in God Valley. I mean, when you have conquerors like, again, Whitebeard, Big Mom, Kaido, probably Shiki as well, it makes sense why like these guys just doesn't want to take orders. They want to look out for themselves at the end of the day and fulfill their needs. Even told Whitebeard like, hey, I don't remember when I ever was just your subordinate, Rocks. Like that's some beautiful dialogue I love seeing between young Whitebeard. We're also seeing young Big Mom. We're even seeing Captain John, the skeleton that we saw in all the way back in Thriller Bark. We're seeing all of that, and Golden Lion Shiki, of course. We're seeing all of that and their glory. And just, it was like when I got to this part of the chapter, I was like, man, Oda's really cooking. We're also seeing Stussy just on the shoulder of Whitebeard. We're also seeing the elder, right? The former empress of Amazon Lily. Remember the elder, that little old lady that was really annoying back in Amazon Lily? She was actually a part of the Rocks Pirates. It was always theorized that Rayleigh's wife was a part of the Rocks Pirates. No, it turned out to be the Elder, who was also actually a part of the Rocks Pirates. Just again, just going to show that this crew was stacked, man. They were stacked. I honestly think when we finally get the full God Valley flashback, which be the next 50 or maybe even 100 chapters, it's still crazy to me, but whenever we actually get it, whenever Oda stops teasing us and actually shows us the entire God Valley flashback, man, I cannot wait until we finally see how this crew ended up losing here, because I know partly it was because they weren't able to get on, but this crew being this stacked, even though you have the Marines, the Holy Knights, you even have Roger, Garp, it's just hard for me to believe, including Rocks at the helm, the guy who's being hyped up to be like the greatest foe for Roger, ended up losing in God Valley here. That's kind of insane to me still. But to move on from that, the banner that the crew have amongst each other is amazing. You're having Big Mom saying, she's the one saying that, hey, I'm gonna go get the fruit. Then you're having Kaido go like, hey, Leland, you don't really need it, you already have your own fruit. You have Captain John saying, nah, I'm gonna take it. And now even more important that I think is Whitebeard bringing up that Rocks better not lose sight of the main objective, the reason why they're here, and they need to confirm what they're coming here for is actually here. Once again, it's going back to what Garp and Kong was talking about. The Celestial Dragons took something from Hachinosu that they specifically were warned from Garp not to take. They took it to God Valley, which now brings Rocks over there. And Whitebeard is saying they need to confirm it's there and not lose sight of the main objective. Now, again, we don't know what this is. Oda's still hiding it from us. Now, the way it's worded, you could also think it's probably a devil fruit. I don't think it's a devil fruit. I honestly think it's really something that's really important that Oda's still hiding from us. And it clearly is very important to the captain Rocks, that so much so that Oda still hasn't even revealed to us the silhouette of Rocks, his actual face, which again, still pretty crazy to me. But we move, right? We finally also see a young Roger, 39 years old, arrive to the island, same with Garp and his soldiers. Just such peak, just such peak, man. Like, Oda has been delivering in this final saga. You're gonna hear me saying that a lot. The way Oda's been delivering ever since chapter 1058 and on, this man Oda has been nothing but peak. Almost every chapter we've seen. And it's amazing because we're finally getting into God Valley, right? Something that we've been just dying to know for the last 4 to 5 years. And now that if we're excluding the One Piece itself and Emu, like, this has been like on the forefront of people's minds, knowing what happened, what causes God Valley, what made all these legendary figures end up here and had this all-out war, so much so that the world government had to hide everything and potentially wipe out the entire God Valley Island. Like, we need to know what exactly happened. Now, to move on from that, since we're probably not going to see God Valley again for quite some time, we get some more of Kuma and Ivankov, who now managed to get these 2 devil fruits because of this entire all-out war that's going on this island. And then we see Big Mom, just before Ivankov can eat Kaido's fruit, get a jump on Ivankov and takes the fruit. And quickly Ivankov tells Kuma, hey, eat the fruit before she gets you. Kuma quickly eats it, and again, not shocking whatsoever. We knew Big Mom got Kaido's fruit on God Valley. She just told us specifically that that's the whole reason why she saved Kaido's butt on this island, because we know Big Mom's just here to get her objective, and then eventually she's gonna dip. She doesn't even care for whatever Rock's plan is. So it goes to show you that I do think at the end of all of this, this is not even probably a theory, that Kaido and Big Mom eventually betrayed Rocks and just ended up leaving him alone on this island. We're gonna probably see it eventually. Then Kuma eventually meets up with Saturn. Saturn does that move again that we saw him use against that Marine soldier. We saw him use against Sanji and Bonnie. Hits him with that shot in the head with Kuma. He doesn't get his head decapitated like the other guy, but he does start bleeding. And then Saturn gives us the same dialogue that, hey, You're nothing but a slave from the Buccaneer tribe. And Kuma says some of the best dialogue I've seen from one of the best written characters I've seen in One Piece, of him telling him, you have all this power. You weren't like us. People being born slaves is just such a ridiculous thing. You having all this power, you should be helping the helpless, just like Nika. And I just absolutely love that line he dropped on Saturn. And then we cut away, classic Oda. We cut away right before we know how Kuma got away, but we knew he was gonna get away. But hopefully we know how he got away later on. I'm still hoping it ended up being Dragon. Who knows how he'll get away? I do hope it's still Dragon, even though at this point it's probably very low chance that Dragon did save him. We don't even know if he's actually on the island, but I'm still banking he probably is. And we also learned that Kuma still ended up saving 500 people after this incident. And they talked about it, how Ivankov talks about how Big Morgan didn't reveal the whole truth, even though even himself, he doesn't know exactly the entire truth about what happened in God Valley. But he also know it wasn't just Garp heroism that happened. There was many more stuff that happened, but because of the world government paying Big Morgans, he just said that part of the truth that left a lot, and I do mean a lot, out about what actually transpired in God Valley. I also love Ivankov calling Kuma's hand the hand of liberation, him being able to save people. Once again, tying that with Nika being called the warrior of liberation, and how Nika, with that hand of liberation, actually was able to free Luffy and his entire crew from the hands of the world government and perishing in Sabaody. Just once again, Oda just hit right in the feels. Like, he just does it on purpose, man. Oda just does this on purpose. I just loved how this ending of the chapter, Ivankov leave, we just see Ginny and Kuma on Soulbreak Kingdom living in a church, finding a living, and them just crying their eyes out when they're finally able to eat food, and them just talking about how, like, hey, I was a slave when I was 4 years old, Kuma said. And Ginny's like, hey, I was a slave too. And that's just how they deal with that trauma. Like, but say it again, I'm gonna keep saying it, these celestial dragons have to go, man. Like, just look at the trauma they're doing to, like, these characters, man. These characters cannot be allowed to keep doing this, man. I cannot wait till the final war order. I cannot wait till we see the final war. And I am banking that that's gonna be a banger. But to end the ending of this chapter of Ginny and Kuma living their life in Soulbreak Kingdom is very sad, knowing that we know the fate of Kuma and how he ends up as a cyborg and losing his memory. And also, this piece of dialogue that I really broke my heart was Kuma telling Ivankov that I will never forget your face. And then we learned in Marineford, because of what Vegapunk did, Kuma eventually forgot Ivankov's face. It's Oda, you are a nasty man with your foreshadowing, and you're just, Oda, you're good. With that, this was just another fantastic chapter by Oda. I didn't even really get to talk about the Holy Knights that we saw in this chapter. Other than Garland, we saw two other figures who look very they resemble the same people that were a part of Mont Caramel's kids. Those two people, guy with the mask and potentially the guy who has the crown. I'm not going to theorize on potentially what that is, but they do look very similar, that eventually ended up in the God Knights. That might be saved for a later video. You know, I don't want to talk about everything because a lot happened in this chapter. I might have to make a part 2 video just talking about this chapter because so much stuff happened, so much information we were given. Like, man, do we really deserve this? Let me know down in the comment section below what you guys thought of this chapter and how you guys think this rest of the flashback is going to play out and how this is all going to tie into Egghead. Let me know that all in the comment section below. And with that all being said, hit that like button, subscribe, hit that post notification button, always be notified whenever I upload more videos. And with that being said, your boy Guru Dreams is out. Peace.